So this is a Parker nylon fly guitar. If you saw on the promo, we're going to talk about recalibration a little bit. The Parker nylon fly has nylon strings and a piezo pickup. That's a Fender Strat over there, right? If anyone, how many played guitar or have tried? No, good. So at least half of you really understand this. But if I were to trade guitars with the guitar player, I would have to do something, and so would he. We would have to recalibrate. Because look, I don't know if you're a guitar player, you can tell this is really wide. It's like a classical guitar. That's a rock guitar. You can do things on that if you try to do them on this. Try it later and show you, they won't sound good. Vice versa is also true, right? So calibration and recalibration is something we're pretty familiar with, and I think we'll get back to this in a minute. But I brought God up here to talk about the word calibrate, because there's this incredible feature he has where you can look up the word very easily. My students love it. They still don't do it, but they love it. It's so much easier than thinking about turning the pages. And one of the definitions says to mark a gauge or instrument with a standard scale of readings. Another is to correlate the readings of an instrument with those of a standard in order to check the instrument's accuracy. Also to adjust experimental results, to take external factors into account, or to allow comparison with other data. And there's a third definition, which is also pretty good. But I think we've got enough. So I want to tell a little recalibration story, and it's mine. As was mentioned by AJ, I used to be a minister, and ministers generally believe in something related to a God or something of that nature. And, you know, through various circumstances that are not relevant to this discussion, something changed. And I had what we might call a new beginning, where I no longer was able to believe what I used to believe. Now, just to be fair to everyone, this could happen the other way around, can't it? Haven't there been people who've been absolutely certain of what I currently believe, and something changed, and whether it was all the way to this belief, or halfway to this one, or to something no one had ever thought of, that's a new beginning for that person. But the blurb in the Facebook page about this talk is about the fact that when you're part of a mind control cult, and you decide that you don't quite believe in everything anymore, it's more extreme than becoming a lapsed Catholic who's not going to church every week, because all of your friends are no longer your friends. And that doesn't mean they won't go to the movies with you. It means that when they pass you on the street, they didn't see you. I remember learning about this as I was on my way in and minimizing it because I was in love with a girl. But I found out later that it's a lot worse than it sounds, because as humans, we have a very good system for feeling rejection and approval. And if we're even a little bit sensitive to it, you know, the type of person who might get sucked into that kind of thing to begin with, that is the harshest punishment of all. But the reason I bring it up is not to get any sympathy, it's been a while. It's that it was a new beginning. And for a lot of us, if we're talking about it here at this meeting, there's got to be a lot of us who have some form of a new beginning going on. So one of the things that, before Godless Revival and Sunday Assembly split, one of the things we did agree on is that it's okay to bring drinks onto the stage. Well, there's no drink. But the thing we absolutely believed was that we could bring it if it was in a cup, because then it didn't look like I was drinking. But these are the notes. So I wanted to ask the question, where do beginnings come from? And it's a rhetorical question because we already know. But we may not have thought of it with this word. Beliefs come from crises. When there is a crisis, not beliefs, did I say beliefs? Beginnings come from crises. Maybe, but no. have some sort of a crisis or a major change where we're going to have to go this way or that way, often that's a new beginning, but it's a double-edged sword. Think of the most obvious one was mentioned by Ray, which is birth. And if anyone has had a child, especially if you are the child, it is a new beginning. Birth is a new beginning. So is death. Especially when someone we're close to dies. It's not a happy beginning, but it is absolutely a new beginning because everything has changed. Marriage is a new beginning. So is divorce. Any new relationship that begins is a new beginning because everything is affected, and when it ends, it's a new beginning also. Well, how about getting hired? Right? How about getting fired? Same situation with a different feeling attached to it. And of course, this comes with changes in our faith, what we believe. If we have a radical shift in that, or even a major shift, it's a new beginning because of our faith, what we believe, whatever it may be, affects every single thing we do and every single thing we say. So, I wanted to talk about what happened to me, but let's forget that and bring it into the larger context, because a lot of people in the secular community at one point were either not secular or have had some kind of change like this, and all of us are going through these other kinds of beginnings at one time or another. The more that things change, the more they stay the same. Changes aren't permanent, but change is. So we're going to wind up facing a new beginning. I really want to talk about belief. We're going to face a new beginning. We're going to face a new beginning, or we already are right now. So we're kind of in the same boat when it comes to beginnings. And I wanted to talk about the word insanity. And I've heard this many times, that insanity, the definition of insanity, you know what I'm going to say? You've heard this? Yeah, it's not true. The definition of insanity is not doing the same things and expecting a different result. That's the definition of stupidity. It is. It is. That's in the Bible. The word stupid, and ignorance is an entirely different thing. All right? And I'm quoting the Bible here. I can give you the scripture. I used to do that. So, but it's true. I'm not going to take the bait. But really, if we want to understand what this change of a new beginning brings about, we've got to look at it kind of cold and hard. You know, we have to look at, well, what really happens? Now, I showed you on the guitar, right? If I play this as if it's a Fender Strat, I'm going to try to bend the string, which is something that means it's going to sound really bad on that guitar, okay? So I have to change and I have to recalibrate, but what does it really mean? It means that when I'm about to press my fingers on this thing, I have to have a different expectation of what I need to do and a different expectation of what's going to happen. And if it's wrong, I'm going to make a mistake, and that's fine, because you know what you do after mistakes? You recalibrate. You do it again with a little more of this, a little less of that. So, what are some of the things that we might have to recalibrate when we have a situation such as leaving a belief system, which could affect more than just our head? It could be our family's belief system. It could be an extended family. It could be a whole group of people that we once thought of as brothers and sisters. Well, one thing that has to be recalibrated is belief. And recalibrating belief is almost simple. You can't believe it if you don't believe it. In other words, you've already recalibrated your belief if you're in that situation. You've already said, I can't keep feeling this way, therefore I don't believe this anymore. But that's small. Recalibrating your belief is easy. You just say, I believe this, I don't believe this, I'll change tomorrow, but here's where I am now. But recalibrating your faith involves knowing what are the things that I should trust. Who are the people that I should trust? What are the teachings that I should trust? And what types of expectations should I have from my relationships? And remember, when you're in a mind control cult, I wrote these part on the top of, this is the really important part. Look at the change. Look at what this new beginning would be. You would be going from a sense of certainty and security about the future, which most people in those types of belief systems have, to a place of absolute insecurity because you don't know what's coming and you're affecting what's coming, and it's extremely complicated and you have no way to really predict it. And what other people say to predict it is almost bound to fail. You also have circumscribed behavior. When you belong to a religious group, they tell you how to behave. And I got to tell you, when I first encountered that, I was 18, and I said, great. I can't figure it out. I had enough sense to know that I was already screwing up with some of my choices. So I said, oh, good, we have something from heaven? That's perfect. I need the exact answers of what to do. But after you outgrow that, or for any reason don't feel that you need it anymore, then you go from circumscribed behavior to, I can really do almost anything I want. Wow. And you're almost a child again, in that sense. And you have to now learn by doing stupid things and making mistakes. And what happens when we make mistakes? We recalibrate. We also go from socially leveraged motivation. And we always have that, right? This is a group of people, right? No one's going to stand up and make a scene because we know that's not going to go over well. Right? We could, but we don't. There's always social leverage in our motivations to some degree, but when you're in a high-controlled group such as a cult, or even something that really doesn't let you think for yourself, even if it's your own fault, you just don't want to think, you now go from socially leveraged motivation to no motivation. And you know the joke, you're an atheist, why do you bother to get up in the morning? There's a little piece of truth in it, because sometimes you need to get your own motivations going. They're natural. We had a great discussion of it just before. They work, they're natural. But sometimes we can get detached from it, and that's a major change. And lastly, we go from knowing predictable people who, when they sit down at the dinner, you know they're going to listen politely and nod their head. Oh yes, and I had an experience like that too, brother. And it happens so gradually, you might not even know that it's fake, but it's secure, because you know nobody's going to grab the food off your plate or start an argument with you or hit you. We don't expect that in regular situations, but it's much safer in a controlled group. So now you go from predictable people to, I don't know what any of you guys would do to me. Who knows? I don't know you. And now you're in a world without your group. So can you all imagine that, even if you weren't in a high-control group? It's not that different from any of our new beginnings, any of them. Let's say we have a birth. Well, a lot of that's automatic, isn't it? As soon as that, even before the birth comes, all the thinking starts to change, right? But then we are hit with realities that require further changes. That is recalibration. That's saying, okay, I thought I could go out and do this. I can't do that anymore. Now I have to do this. What if we lose someone? Well, that's tough, because now it's not learning to do things one at a time. Now there's everything that was working this way is not there. It's gone. And it's one of the worst things in the world. It's a new beginning. We don't wish it upon anybody. But in all of the little things, even what time am I going to wake up? We have to recalibrate. We have to say, well, how do I feel? And think about it. When you're thinking about how someone else feels, it's a beautiful thing. But when that person doesn't feel anymore, it's all up to me, and I don't even know what I want. I was happy making this person happy. I mean, not to get all too gloomy here, but any loss provides us with the need to recalibrate. And so what I wanted to talk about is a specific thing that applies to Sunday assembly. Because I know Sunday assembly. I don't know all of you, but I know some of you, and many of us worked together in the past, and we have a lot of fondness, I think, for each other. We know each other as humans, not just as groups trying to do a show or anything. And I wanted to call back to mind a metaphor that Sunday Assembly's founder brought to my attention. You know it, I'm sure you've heard it. It's a very good metaphor, and it was right for the occasion. We were in the middle of arguing over, who's going to do what, and your group is going to do this, and our group is going to do that. And Sanderson said, it's all good. It's like ice cream. Did anybody hear this? Well, he said, you guys have your flavor of ice cream. He didn't describe it. He could have taken some pot shots, but he didn't. He said, you have your flavor of ice cream. This is the way you guys like to talk about spirituality, faith, whatever the subject is, atheism. And we have a different flavor of ice cream. And we don't just want it to be us too, we want everybody's flavor of ice cream out there. Now, I first tried to find fault with it so I could argue with it, but that didn't work, because it's a very, very good analogy. And I thought about it, well, with ice cream, okay, I like vanilla. I know that makes me seem boring, but I like vanilla. I always did. Breyers when I was a kid. Haagen-Dazs is pretty good. Let's just change the subject. If there was only one flavor of ice cream, and it was your favorite flavor, that might be okay. But what if that were true of architecture? I mean, just picture your dream house. Exact house you would want to live in. Everything. The windows, the colors, the neighborhood, the lawn. You got it? You have that, right? Imagine every single house on earth was exactly like that. It doesn't change what you have. Would you like it then? Well, why not? I hate these strip malls. I don't like them. Why do I need them in order to like what I have? Or let's take interior design. Okay, we went to the inside of the house. You like it the way you like it, right? You don't want my interior design. But do you want my interior design to be like yours? Do you need it? Would you even want it? How would you feel about your apartment if every apartment you entered was the same? Right? I could go on with more ideas. Yeah, how about rap music? What if you like Biggie and The Far Side comes out and they're making fun of some things and it's in a movie and oh no, what do? We like the whole thing, the many flavors of ice cream, because that adds layers and richness to what we're doing. So I want to leave you with a beautiful thought, because the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, it didn't sound like the most relevant thing, but it is in this one sense. The ex-Jehovah's Witness community contains two big groups, the atheists and the born-again Christians. Because when they leave Jehovah's Witnesses, people go everywhere, there's Wiccans, there's everything, but there's mostly those two groups. And online, there's the recovery groups, the online forums for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, how do we handle that? Right? Because that's not just, well, you're a little bit into mysticism and I can do... No. That's, you got to follow Jesus or you're going to go to hell. And we're like, are you crazy? How do you deal with that? Any ideas? We're already doing it here. We just let it go. Because think about it. If everyone believed exactly what I believe, if everyone believed exactly what you believe, even if you're right, would you like it? It would take away all of the colors. And we need those differences in order to feel who we are as individuals, even in beliefs, even if we're wrong. Even if we find out later, oh, that was totally illogical. It's ours. And none of us really feel the need to go inside of somebody else's head and say, no, you have to change this. As long as they're not coming and encroaching upon us, we have harmony. So I wanted to just talk about that and finish it, because what we're doing here is getting together with all sorts of people. If you listen to AJ's part, you listen to the last part, there's always the openness for someone who thinks differently. Not only don't we mind it, we need it. We want it because it's beautiful. So thanks for listening. We'll play a song in a minute, and I think I have to give the mic back to AJ now. Yeah. Thanks for having me.